Hi, this is Dr. Linda Miles, and I'm going to be reading some from a book that I co-authored with Dr. Amy Bunger, who was working at the time at Cincinnati Children's Hospital. And it's about the brain in children, and it's called All Aboard the Brain Train. So as I begin, I just wanted to say that you can start training your child in mindfulness before birth. Why? Because the brain is developing in utero. And what we know is that if children are exposed to too much anxiety while they're in utero, they're more anxious when they're born. So how do we know this? We know this because they did extensive studies after 9/11 of women who were in their last trimester of pregnancy. Those children had a significantly quicker startle response, and they tended to struggle more with anxiety. We also have a good bit of evidence from a huge snowstorm in Canada, where they studied women in their last trimester, as well as World War II, when there were also big studies of women who'd been in occupied countries and what happened to them and their infants. So how do you do that? You can listen yourself if you're a pregnant mom, or encourage a pregnant mom to practice mindfulness, to practice dropping into calm, to practice self-soothing. So I also have a CD, and it's available for free download at www.drlindamiles.com that moms can listen to when they're pregnant. And the baby hears it too, because there's good conduction into the uterus and the baby hears it. They did really interesting studies with infants that their mom had been listening to the jingle from a certain soap opera. And after the babies were born, guess what? They recognized the soap opera. So I won't go into the details about how the researchers could tell they recognized it, but trust me, they did. I had my own personal experience because when my granddaughter Bella was born, she was in the nursery and I went in, and when I started talking to her, she became very fixed on me and my voice, which her mom had been listening to for 3 months. Now, obviously, that's just one person, but that was definitely my experience, that she recognized the sound and the cadence and the timbre of my voice. So be calm during pregnancy. But we wrote the brain train to help give parents tools all along to help their child learn what's called self-soothing, which is such an important developmental task. That's the ability to drop into calm and to access your frontal cortex to solve problems instead of just react. So really trying to build that in as early as you can, helping that child learn to calm down. And it gets more sophisticated as you go along, but I'm going to read a little bit from All Aboard the Brain Train to give you an idea of the kinds of things we're writing about and what we're suggesting. So the first thing is directions and stations. So stations are potential destinations in the brain. There are 100 billion neurons in the brain. and they work across a myriad of networks and interconnections. You just can't even fathom the possibilities that our brain has. This is known as neuroplasticity. And neuroscientists say that the brain loves fame. So the more something's repeated in input, the more the brain turns to those kinds of solutions. You can help your child go in the direction of remarkable stations, of creative stations, by asking, once they're verbal, I wonder how we can solve this problem. Actually, you don't have to wait till they're verbal. You can start having exchanges with them when they're very little and they don't even understand the words, because they feel that you're not anxious and they feel safe. I had the joy last week of watching a young pediatrician have a conversation with her 3-month-old baby. And she would ask the baby questions like, so how was your day? And the baby would kind of babble something. And then she would say, oh, well, that's interesting. Well, what else did you do? And the baby would babble something. So she was making her safe. She was giving her connections. She was helping that baby's brain go in a destination of compassion and connection, and already training her before there were words for that. So you can help route your child's brain in the most positive, productive directions. The idea is you're building stations in the child's brain so that when this train of thought takes off, there is fame in a certain direction. We want those directions to be positive and creative and filled with life. Not that you're giving that child a message that there's not difficulty, because we don't want to give that message, because good grief, there's a lot of difficulty. But you're giving the message that yes, there's difficulty, but there is a place that you can go. There's a way to get through this. And you're programming it in the brain. I cannot overemphasize the word safety. Children's brains need safety to develop. So you want to keep out, if you and your husband are going to have an argument and have loud voices and you have a young child, save it for being on your own. If you want to have a disagreement, and you can do that in an orderly, constructive way, that's good for children to see. It is not good for them to see you go completely bonkers and not be able to calm yourself down and to self-soothe. So we quote Einstein, it is the supreme art of the teacher to awaken joy in creative expression and knowledge. So you want your child to find joy by finding solutions and by continuing to build on that. You also want to model for them and also help them in their brain that you can hold suffering and joy. They're not mutually exclusive. Our brain is big enough to hold them both. And so many people feel like either I'm going to suffer or I'm going to be happy all the time. That's not real. What's real is, how do you train the brain to hold on to the opposites without judgment? So I want you to think about, if you have children or grandchildren, how you can be a part of their safety, of their ability to be calm in the face of adversity, how you can help them hold the opposites in life and not feel like they've either got to be a miserable person or a totally happy person, that it's okay to let emotions come and go. We have many tips in our book. You're welcome to go on and download free CDs. We have a free CD about train your brain for basically relaxation and better relationships. And again, if you know anyone that's pregnant, we have a free download of All Aboard, not All Aboard the Brain Train, I'm sorry, that's the book, but that's available too, of the pregnancy CD for pregnant moms to help them lower their own anxiety levels so they don't pass that along to another generation. So feel free to write me. We love feedback, and train your brain to be calm and help model that for your children. That's the most important gift. Thank you.